world? What's happening, world? B Marsh Boxing, what's going on with y'all, man? Big up man named Saint Trunks. Salute to you, my G. Saint Trunks informed me the last video I did, my initial post-fight review, post-fight results for Chris Eubanks Jr. versus Conor Benn has no audio. I'm learning this 2, 3 hours later. But nevertheless, I said, fuck it, I'm gonna just do it all over again, man. I did leave some nice points in the one with no audio. So I'm gonna have to try to recollect my memory for what I seen this afternoon. Round one was a good round for Chris Eubank Jr. He was using his jab, I'm saying, using his height and reach advantage, being the natural super middleweight fighter as opposed to Conor Benn, who was a fighting that currently campaigning at welterweight, who had to come up in weight. So with that being said, man, that round one I gave it to Eubank Jr. He was using the jab, keeping dude at bay. And the first punch, dude caught him with a couple two pieces, like the first punches. Eubank Jr. caught the man, Conor Benn, he just basically walked into them punches, you know what I mean? But round two was totally different from round one, excuse me. Why do I say that? It's simply off the fact Conor Benn now starts putting his punches together. He even clips the man, Eubank Jr. in round two with a nice left hook. You know what I'm saying? Kind of stopped him in his tracks, you know what I mean? Buzzed him a little bit. And I was like, whoa, already. And they went to war after that. Chris Eubank regained his bearings, started coming along strong, using his jab, throwing punches in bunches, making the man, uh, Conor Benn, miss wildly. Conor Benn was throwing punches in bunches. They definitely had the quicker advantage in the hand speed, being the smaller fighter. But he was missing wide. He was swinging for the fences at times and missing. And I was basically giving the man Eubank rounds. Then the man Conor Benn started to pick up a new strategy. He made some adjustments and he started going to the body. You know what I mean? Throwing some nice body shots on the man Eubank. And Eubank, you could tell it was taking a toll on him, man, because now his punch output was looking much slower than it had been in the first half. And round eight, they started going to war, you know what I mean? Conor Benn went balls to the wall all out, you know what I mean? Rock out with your cock out, trying to put pressure on the man, Eubank Jr. And he was having success, He was picking up rounds, 8, 9, 10, 11, These are all rounds that I gave to Conor Benn, and Conor Benn, I thought, he was fighting with, he fought a spirited fight being the smaller fighter. But, these guys hit each other with all kind of bombs and haymakers, real big, hard shots. But, one thing I must say about this fight, they technique, they skill set. If you're a real pugilist fan and you love the sweet science, these guys did not really display any of that as far as even ring generalship, dictating the pace. It was all basically an all-out brawl after round eight, and some fans love to see that, But personally, I would have liked to see Eubank Jr. being the bigger, stronger fighter with the longer reach, make the fight a little easier on him rather than having to go through a war where he even got cut above his right eye was leaking. You know what I mean? Um, so the man Eubank Jr. He had lost plenty of rounds. Like I said, round eight, excuse me, round 8 through 11, but round 12, nah, he ain't want to leave it to the judges. He pressed up on the man Eubank, man, closed the distance, had him his back on the ropes, and started wailing on the man Conor Benn. Didn't give him no room to breathe, nothing. He just went all out, trying to knock the dude out. Buzzed the man a little bit. Conor Benn. Conor Benn still fought a valiant fight in round 12, but 12th round was obviously a Eubank Senior round. Excuse me, Eubank Junior round. Even Stevie Wonder could have seen that. And to me, that was the difference of the fight. If it wasn't for that round, then I would have had this fight a draw. I had this fight 7 rounds to 5 in favor of the man Chris Eubank Jr. You know what I mean? I thought the right man won the fight, and I'm glad we didn't have a controversial decision. I don't know if anybody could have given the victory to the man Conor Benn. I just didn't see it. A draw at best for him. But Eubank Jr. closing the distance in that second half. Excuse me, in that 12th round was basically the difference to me of why he won this fight. You know what I mean? So these guys, as you know, these guys are true sons of British legends, who campaigned in the 90s at middleweight and super middleweight. That's Conor Benn. His father's Nigel Benn, the Dark Destroyer, one of my favorite, if not my favorite, nicknames in boxing history. And then Chris Eubank Jr., his pops is Chris Eubank Sr., and the two pops in the 90s had a bitter rivalry, and it continues on with their son today in 2025. And I wouldn't be surprised if we have a rematch for this fight, because it was a damn good fight. Um, Conor Benn could have easily laid down and had a excuse in his back, a built-in excuse in the back of his pocket, say, "Oh, he's a smaller guy. He came up in weight, blah blah blah." He definitely was a smaller fighter, but he gave it his all, and I gotta give it up to him. You know what I mean? Be Marsh Boxing, leave your thoughts and comments. I'll catch you guys on the next one. I'm out of here. Gone.